gorgeous, and thank you for joining us today. I'm your host, Kim Becker, and this is Hello, Gorgeous, everything beauty, cancer, and inspiration on Society Bites Radio, social interaction for the mind and soul. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm going to take some time and hopefully inspire you a little bit to deal with life's disruptions. As I said, my name is Kim Becker, and I am the founder of Hello Gorgeous of Hope Incorporated. I'm a keynote speaker and an award-winning author. I'm a mom to an awesome, soon-to-be 17-year-old son. And, you know, life has thrown us some disruptions, just like it's thrown everybody some disruptions. But through these disruptions, we've learned some different skill sets and some different things to help us cope. And I wanted to come today and to share those those things that I've learned through my life's disruptions with you, with the hopes that you can take these tools and take them back into your world, and that you can better adjust to some of the disruptions that take place in just everyday life. So the first thing I want to do is actually define what is a disruption. So the disruption is an act or process of disrupting something, a break or an interruption in the normal course or the continuation of some activity, process, etc. So when you think about a disruption, think about disruptions that happen every day, little disruptions maybe. A flat tire on the way to work, you spill coffee on your suit or your dress on the way to a big meeting that day, a child is homesick. There's been many a times where my life has been disrupted because I needed to stay home instead of being in the office. And those are some of the little disruptions that happen that it can get us out of sorts because the day doesn't go along the way that we want to have it planned. But then there are some big disruptions, right? Like there's a cancer diagnosis, or maybe you were diagnosed with a disease that's an autoimmune disease that they can't find a cure for. Maybe it's the loss of a loved one, a mother, a child, a house fire. You know, there's some really, really, really big disruptions. So I want to share with you about my disruption. In June of 2017, I lost my husband, and I lost the love of my life. And this was not the way that my life was supposed to go. I'm a young widow. I'm only 52 years old, and Michael and I had made a pact with one another. We had decided that our life would end. We had our love story written all the way to the final chapter. And the final chapter of the love story was that he was going to be 96 and I was going to be 90. And we would be going 100 miles an hour in our red Maserati on the Autobahn. And our demise would come in a fiery crash while we were holding hands. Well, unfortunately, life had other plans. And at the ripe old age of 56, Michael was taken from me. And this disrupted my life in many ways, because not only did I lose my husband, I lost the father to our son, and I lost my best friend, and I lost my business partner. So my world was certainly disrupted, and it was turned upside down. And with that disruption, there comes many feelings that, happen along the way. I was fearful. Of could I keep things going? Although I lost Michael to septic shock. And so there were days towards the end of his life that he was in and out of lucidity. He started talking about things that weren't happening. He wanted me to help him save people that weren't there. And at one point in time, he seemed like I was really with him. And he grabbed a hold of my hands and he said to me, "You have to keep going. You have to keep going." And I said, "Okay, no worries. We're going to keep going, but I need to get you through this, and then we'll keep going." So I promised him that I would keep going. But then after this whole disruption happened and he was taken from me, I had fear of, could I keep going? Could I make it sure, make sure that our son had the high school career that he should have? Could I keep the house standing? Could I keep the car running? There were all of these fears that were inside of me. And then there was the anger that came up. Why was I the one that was a widow? Why was I the one that had my life disrupted? Why was my husband taken from me? If you knew Michael, he was an amazing man that would give the shirt off of his back. There were many times that he would lay in the hospital bed and people didn't know, but he was hooked to IVs, and He had tubes coming out of places that nobody wanted to know about. And he would constantly answer the phone. Hello, gorgeous. This is Mike. How can I help you? So he was such an amazing man. I was very angry at our situation. I didn't understand why we had to go through this. You know, some people, when their life is disrupted, they can go through depression. There's an anxiety of what the future holds. Overwhelm. I certainly had my fair share of overwhelm, given that I was now a single parent and somebody that was a single business owner where I had a partner all of this time. And you become uncomfortable, right? Because this new disrupted life is a life that you weren't planning on. And so all of a sudden, what was comfortable for you, even Mike and I, we rode to work together every day. So the drive to work was no longer comfortable because I didn't have that person in the passenger seat, or I wasn't sitting in the passenger seat and somebody driving me. And you get tired, right? Because all of a sudden you're in this new life, and that used to take two of you to run. Now there's one of us to run. So there's all different feelings of emotions, but it really is what you do with those feelings or emotions. And what I tried to tell my son during this time, and what I tried to impress on him, is it's really 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. So some of the next few minutes, I want to tell you and share with you about how we reacted to this disruption that happened in our lives. And the one thing that I can say is that, you know, not only 2 years later after my husband died, we're still standing. You know, the house is still standing, the car is still running, the child was able to get his driver's license, and our organization is still thriving. We're still going, we're still growing, we're still helping women. And all along, I know that Michael is smiling down on us because this is exactly what he asked us to do, and we continue to do it. But, you know, sometimes during these times of disruption, you want to be that superhero, right? You want to take the world on all by yourself, and you don't want anybody's help. Actually, when someone asks you if they can help you, what's your first response? No, I can do it myself. And it's, I don't need your help, right? Because when somebody asks you if you need help, it's implied that you're weak or that you can't do it on your own. But the reverse is also true, right? When you reach out and you want to help somebody, you see that somebody's struggling and they need a little bit of love or they need an extra hug. You want to be able to help them. But when you offer to help them, their first response is no. And so they feel that, again, that you're implying that they're weak and they can't do it on your own. So I want to help you reword that and kind of reframe that word help. When Michael was alive, his dad actually struggled with lung cancer. He was diagnosed with lung and liver cancer about Father's Day weekend. And by the first week in August, he had passed away. And so it was a really intense time. Michael decided that he was going to keep his dad at home. And every time I would say to him, hey, how can I help you today? His response to me was, I'm fine. You know, I'm okay. I don't need your help. But I really wanted to be there, and I wanted to be there for him. And so instead of asking him, how can I help you? I reframed the question and I said, how can I support you? What do you need from me today? What's the best way for me to be able to support you? And it was so interesting, just by changing that question, it changed his response. So I was no longer implying that he needed my help or that he was weak. What I wanted to know was, what's the best way for me to be able to support you? And his response was different. Instead of saying, no, I don't need your help, his response was, you know what, Kim, if you can just make sure that our son is taken care of and that he gets back and forth to school so that I can just take this time and be with my dad today, that would be great. That would be huge. So don't ask people if you can help them. Ask, how can I support you? When you ask a different question, you get a different response. You know, also when you're asking a different question to elicit a different response, believe me, there were many a times where I would ask the question, why? Why did I have to go through this? Why was it me that became a widow? How come I'm the one that's in this position right now? Why was Michael's life ended? Why couldn't he have another 20 or 30 years to help change the world? And so I found myself, when I would ask that question, why, I just came to a dead end. It was not a productive question because there weren't any answers. Nobody can tell you why. It was his time on this earth was done. He had fulfilled everything that he was supposed to fulfill, and that's why God decided to take him home. But, you know, when you're left here standing and you're holding the bag and you've got the world on your shoulders and you're trying to make sure that the business is running and that your son has a great life going forward without his dad, that didn't seem to be a good answer for me. So instead of asking the question why, I started to ask a different question. And this is what I want you to think about. Don't ask why. Ask, what can I learn from this? So I can't say that I received an immediate answer, but it was certainly a more peaceful question to ask. I remember the last month of Michael's life was the most difficult. Our son was graduating from 8th grade, and we had offered to do the video for the 8th grade graduation, and I was trying to keep all of this up and be an advocate for Michael at the same time. And so I would ask the question all the time, what am I supposed to learn to this? What am I supposed to learn from this? And it wasn't apparent at the time, but I suppose what I was supposed to learn from that was I was supposed to learn to do things by myself. I was supposed to learn that it wasn't going to be the two of us all the time with our son. It was going to be that I was going to have to take the helm on this and lead the business by myself and to lead our family, which would be now a family from 3 to 2 by ourselves. So I want to encourage you to ask that question. Instead of asking why, start asking, what can I learn from this? You know, when I was asking questions all the time, I was also trying to find the answer, but I wanted to find the yes. I didn't want necessarily to hear why I couldn't do something. I wanted to find the answer of why I could do something. And maybe it wasn't the way that I thought it was. You know, after Michael passed away, I had decided that Seth and I needed a break. As I said, the last few months of his life were very intense. He was sick with a lot of infections. It was in and out of hospitals. And that's hard for a young boy to understand why he had to spend so much of his summer in the hospital. And so I wanted to do something to just show Seth that normalcy would return. So I grabbed my sisters and a couple of my brother-in-laws, and we took Seth down to Florida where we could visit one of the amusement parks down there. I couldn't be on the beach. I couldn't have too much time by myself, but I really needed to just show Seth that normalcy would return. And so when I was here in our community, and I visited a respite home for medically fragile children. And when I was taking a tour and talking with the director, she was telling me that when people come in, they always tell them what they can't do, right? This child, you know, this is the medicine that they have to take, and they can't get in the water, and they can't be without their breathing machine, and they can't be without their oxygen. And as I stood there and I talked with the director said, yes, but can they take a bubble bath? Can they go on a swing? Can we take them for a ride? And a mother had complimented that director, and she said, no matter what happens, you always try and find the yes. And I thought, you know, that's what we've done these last 2 years, is no matter what the situation is, maybe it doesn't work the way that it was supposed to. Maybe it doesn't work like it used to when Mike and I were partnered together and it was just the two of us. But it works differently now because we always look for the yes. Maybe it's not that Mike is at the helm with me anymore, but we found ways to continue on with the organization. We found ways to continue on our daily life, and I found ways to make sure that my son's life is normal as possible. Is it different? Yes. It's certainly not the normal that it used to be, but we're finding a new normal. And through that new normal, we are really working hard to find the yes. We did a makeover several years ago, and it was on a woman that was battling lung cancer. And we did her makeover in the mobile day spa. And I remember we surprised her in a local restaurant, and she actually didn't think that we were coming for her. And we greeted her with a great big hello, gorgeous. And the mobile day spa was sitting in the parking lot, and we took her outside and started her makeover. And she received everything, you know, a manicure and a haircut. We did her makeup, and we worked with the clothier to get her a new outfit. And part of the services that we provide is a pedicure. And we put the water in the foot bath, and we had her soak her feet. And she said, now, you know, the chemo is not done justice to my toenails. She said, I really don't have many left. And my stylist that was there at the time said, that's okay. We're just going to soak your feet. And then when we get done soaking your feet, we're going to take your feet out, and we're going to do a really nice foot massage on you. And as we sat there and the woman received the foot massage, she had these big tears running down her face. And she said, you know, it's been a really long time since somebody's